Hi, my name is Jean Lee, and I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager at Tebra, and also the Managing Editor of The Intake, which is our online publication for independent practices and medical billing companies who are looking to start, run, and grow their businesses. And I am joined by my colleague, Paige, who is our incredible art director.
Hey, Jean.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to spend this time introducing one of the reports we have on the topic of music and mental health, and I'll share this with our audience of providers who can use these insights to better understand their patients. And so let's dive right in. This is the article and report on the topic of music and mental health, the mental health playlist, what songs help patients through tough times. All of us realize the power that music has in impacting our day-to-day lives. I think most of us can agree that music helps boost mental health. We really wanted to explore what are the songs and genres that people gravitate toward the most when wanting to help themselves through tough times. So that's the exact question we explored. We surveyed 1,000 Americans and analyzed over 110,000 tracks from Spotify playlists labeled mental health. And the findings were definitely interesting. In terms of most comforting songs for mental health struggles, these are the top songs on mental health playlists on Spotify. The top song was Sailor Song by Gigi Perez. I did listen to it before the session and definitely got like a, emotional indie folk vibe. I know Lord Huron right underneath it is also somewhat in that vein. One that stuck out to me was Numb by Linkin Park. I feel like I sing that song at least once a week because I hear it somewhere or it gets stuck in my head. But I do love that song and I feel like it's very cathartic. Same with My Chemical Romance. I feel like that's somewhat in the same vein. Paige, like, what songs of these do you know? What songs you don't? Do you resonate with any of them?
Yeah. Definitely I am familiar with a few of these musicians. I definitely know Billie Eilish, What Was I Made For? That was on my uh repeatable songs of 2024. Whenever Barbie came out, I was listening
Yes.
to that song on repeat. I love it. And yeah, I like how slow it is. I like how Billie Eilish sounds and the overall vibe of the song. So I definitely see why it would fit in a mental health playlist. And then Conan Gray, those two songs, I've probably heard them like a handful or less times. And they are like on the slower in acoustic side of music. So I also see why those are on this top 10 list. And then the last one, actually, Teenagers, My Chemical Romance. That one is more upbeat, but to each their own. Everybody has a genre that resonates with them.
Yeah, I totally love seeing the mix of genres in this top 10 list and just really goes to show there are benefits for all of these styles and how they resonate with everyone's individual needs and preferences. Super cool to see such a varied list. And in terms of most popular genres for mental health and also artists that fall under that, it was surprising to see metal as the top genre on mental health playlists and coinciding with that, Metallica as the top artist. Some of us might assume that the top genre would have been something more on like the traditionally like calmer side, but definitely see how metal can be a emotional release of like anger or frustration or stress. And so I think a lot of us, yeah, seem to gravitate toward that as boosting mental health. Some of the other top artists were ones that I would expect, like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, artists going as far back as the Beatles and as recent as like Olivia Rodrigo. So cool to see that variation of genres and artists. And when we go to top artists by genre, our top seven genres along with the top three artists for each. Thought of you, Paige, when I saw SZA listed under R&B. I know we've talked about you being a fan. I like her music a lot too. Seeing such a range of genres like metal, rock, hip hop, EDM too, country as well. Yeah, curious about your thoughts about this list and if there are any artists you really like from it.
This is really cool to see the breakdown with the top three per genre category. Like you said, I am a big SZA fan, so it's really
Mhm.
cool to see her take the number 1 spot. You know, she released 2 albums, Control and SOS. I feel like those are on the top of people's lists. I know for me, she is always in my top 5 on Spotify, so I'm not surprised to see her there in that spot. But then I also see some of these other artists, like the Beatles, that's another band that I grew up with,
Same.
and resonates with a lot of people. Like, they've been around for a long time. They have a lot of popular songs, and, like, there's a nostalgia factor, there's like a comfort to it. Um,
Mhm.
those are 2 that stand out to me. What about you?
This is such a great list. Just looking at hip hop and rap, like I don't know Suicide Boys, but I know Eminem and Kendrick Lamar, just two absolute legends. So great to see them taking the top spots. It was interesting to see in the top three artists. I didn't see Taylor Swift because I know she's one of the top artists just overall that showed up in the playlists, but can definitely see, Ed Sheeran and Lady Gaga taking those spots. I don't know Biba Doopy, but
Yeah, I just discovered her this year. I started listening to her music, and it's acoustic. It's a little bit on the like slower side, really nice. I was training for a run a couple months ago, and I would have her on my playlist. She is a newer artist compared to Lady Gaga and Ed Sheeran.
nice, that's awesome. Yeah, you need to keep me in the loop with the newer artists because sometimes I just default to what I know. And just diving into, how people use mental health, music for mental health. I think music, sometimes can get overlooked as a therapeutic tool, but our findings really show that it really is used by so many of us to help us through difficult times. 92% of respondents say music has helped them get through difficult times. And in terms of, the top mental health benefits, the top choices were mood enhancement, providing comfort, increasing happiness, which are all things I would expect with benefits from music for mental health. Some of these other benefits are ones that totally make sense in terms of reducing feelings of anger or frustration. And depression, or promoting mindfulness and boosting self esteem. Those are definitely real benefits that people get from listening to their preferred music. And in terms of top difficult experiences music has helped people through, anxiety takes the top spot. Totally, I feel in my personal life, whenever I have an anxious moment, music can completely help me have that pass, or just, help me feel better about that situation. Yeah, interesting to see financial hardship being listed as the last one. So it seems like those going through that experience, aren't necessarily gravitating toward music to help them through that. But you can
Yeah.
see how music at breakup or heartbreak, I know we all love the sad balance.
Yeah, I feel like so many songs are about ups or, going through, relationships. So
Yes.
it's such a relatable thing, if, you're going through that in your life, and then a song
Mhm.
resonating in that way. As a real example, above, you noted Olivia Rodrigo there, and a lot of her songs are about heartbreak. I remember when I was getting into her, I wasn't resonating with heartbreak in the moment, but
Mhm.
still relatable to earlier stages in my life. So I feel
Mhm.
like music is so relatable, whether it be like relevant to you now or it was something, in the past that you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking of a similar, I haven't really listened to Olivia Rodrigo, but so you made me think of like Adele in that
Mm,
same
yeah,
sense where it's a lot of songs about past relationships, whether it's joy or heartbreak. Yeah. And yeah, listening to her sometimes reminds me of a past time in my life too. So, like you said, whether it resonates with you in the present or in the past, like music can still be a powerful tool to help with mental health. We had interesting findings too about music, those using music over traditional therapy. So we actually found about 50% of respondents rely on music over traditional therapy. And 57% actually feel it's equally impactful, which is, yeah, really interesting to see how people will use that to sort of self heal instead of seeking out like a therapist. And so in terms of fans within certain genres that use music the most instead of therapy, we found metal fans, 59% of them use music over therapy, but also found that they reported the worst mental health out of all the different genres. And so on the flip side of that, classical music fans and jazz music fans reported the best mental health. 14% of respondents said EDM. I think that's an emerging genre because 14% said that's their go-to genre when they're feeling sad or depressed. Definitely myself use that as a genre
Mhm,
continuously as a mood booster.
mhm.
Happy to see that reflected here.
It's interesting only 14% said EDM is their go-to genre. EDM, the acronym, literally is electronic dance music. It's such upbeat music.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard to not dance while you're listening to it, and I often find myself doing exactly that, and so that is also a great stress relief too. Obviously, seeing Taylor Swift, as the top artist people turn to during dark times, she has such a huge fan base, and it's easy to understand why. I think a lot of her music can help through so many different emotions, whether it is like heartbreak or just feeling like you want a confidence boost. Taylor's definitely there for that.
Yeah, she's written probably songs about every topic,
Yeah. She has such a wide range and such a huge library.
right? Dean, what do you think about the stat 59% of metal fans have used music instead of therapy?
Yeah, so I found that stat really interesting. Metal fans, gravitating toward music over traditional therapy because in our findings, we also saw that metal fans reported the worst mental health out of all the different genres. Just in a mental health provider lens, I don't think these statistics necessarily indicate that traditional therapy is going down the drain and music's completely going to take over, but it just reinforces that patients really do find music as a powerful coping mechanism, and mental health booster. And just understanding that regarding your individual patients can help strengthen your relationship with them and understand how they want to cope through personal challenges. Starting a conversation of asking what your patients prefer in terms of music and their relationship to it can be a way to better understand your patients and improve your relationship with them.
Yeah, yeah. I relate to that. I wonder in my next therapy session, I'll, mention my music preferences, have that be a part of our session. I do think we are seeing more people seek therapy now more than ever.
Yeah, definitely. The pandemic played a factor in that where a lot of our mental health was pushed to the limit and therapy was more discussed. I think with the rise of telehealth too, it's so much easier to be able to speak to your therapist without having to commute somewhere, leave your house. I found that to be a barrier that's lifted in terms of speaking with my therapist weekly.
That's exactly how I see my therapist too.
Yeah, it's such a amazing, convenient way to be able to speak with our providers, and I actually love that about Tebra's platform, where we make telehealth integrated and so easy to access for our provider base. It's really a win-win for both the providers and the patients in terms of improving access to care and still having a really strong experience and visit. In terms of music's powerful role in our day-to-day lives, I think the diversity of genres and tracks shows that we all have different emotional experiences, and we seek relief for that, whether it's stress release or calmness or validation or reflection. These preferences that we have for music may offer insights into how people want to feel understood or less alone and more in control of their emotions. And I think in the provider lens, this is a good reminder that many of us use music as a coping tool and just understanding the various methods that patients use to cope can strengthen empathy and trust and patient experience overall. I also love that idea of bringing up music and seeing how that could maybe help me understand my perspectives more about things or how I choose to deal with challenges. So we hope that these findings were helpful and insightful. And if you want to check out this article or other industry leading research that we've conducted, you can go to tebra.com/the intake. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this episode. I really love chatting about this.